Okay, well, I make that 9:30. If people join late, that's absolutely fine. We will continue to admit them. Firstly, thank you for joining us. We are running a bunch of sessions today. There's 8 sessions that we are running around all different IT subject matter. But what we're trying to do is show you how you can get more out of your investment you've already made into IT and other things on like your Dynamics platform, those type of things, and really try and get you utilizing them as best as you can. I know a lot of people have been aware of Teams, but have suddenly been thrown at the deep end over the last 2 or 3 weeks with the lockdown that's taken place, and we're all a lot more remote, and so we'll try and use that as best as we can and show you how we can utilize that. Okay, so let's get started. Hopefully you'll be able to see my PowerPoint slide at the moment. We're going to be jumping around. I haven't got much PowerPoint. Really want to get into the product and show you as much live demos as we can. So I think the reason we've done this is that the subject matter around you've mastered calls is because I said you've been thrown in the deep end. I was just talking to James from one of our organisers that's joined this morning, and he was saying, you know, they've been thrown into this as many companies have, and they've started to use it for chat. They've started to use it for the odd video call. And I think, you know, in our private lives as well, we've now got Zoom installed on our laptops. We've got maybe Teams, we've got Skype, we've got, you know, all these different ways of communicating with our friends and family, because we obviously can't get out and see them. And so we're getting far more familiar with the idea of video conferencing, and we're getting used to that. So like we've done today, we've joined a call. Everyone is far more happy with sharing their audio and video and that type of stuff now, because it's what we're doing in our normal lives. So what I thought we'd do today is really say, well, now you've got that, I won't say mastered, but you're getting used to it, then I'll show you a few of the other things, because where Teams differs from things like Zoom and Skype is that you've got this whole collaboration hub in the background that isn't just a video conferencing system. It is to do with sharing information, working with your team and in your organization, and we're going to show you how to extend it outside of your organization as well. And hopefully if my slides catch up. So I'm Liam. I look after the sales and marketing team here at TechMan, and I also spend a lot of time living and breathing Microsoft Teams. So I'm happy to answer any questions you've got at the end of this session or via email. That's my Twitter handle, but it's liam.walton@techman.co.uk is my email address. If you're not a TechMan customer, welcome. There's about 110 employees at TechMan that cover predominantly Dynamics, but we try and be a very proactive partner, hence we're running these sessions today. So there's a little bit of housekeeping. Hopefully everyone can hear me. You should be able to see my slides. If not, we have got a chat based at the side of Teams. If you've been using Teams, you can see there should be a little chat based option. You can put any questions you've got in there and I'll deal with those at the end, or we can unmute everybody at the end and fire away and ask some questions. Should be done within 30 to 45 minutes. And we said there's some time for Q&A. Okay, what we're going to cover, very brief introduction, then we're going to go into and look at Teams is not Skype or Zoom and show you what else it does. We'll demo that. Then we're going to have 5 very quick Teams tips that I hope will come as a bit of a learning exercise for you that you might not be aware of, maybe some speedier ways of doing stuff. And that'll be quite a quick wrap up at the end, but hopefully that'll mean that everybody goes away and learns something new, and we'll demo those as well. So the reason we're going to show you Teams is this idea of why we've almost become to hate email. For the last 20-25 years, email has been our predominant way of communicating. It was revolutionary, wasn't it, back in the late 80s, early 90s, and then we've just become absolutely swamped with it. There's so much in our inbox, it's painful. We miss stuff we shouldn't, and we get distracted by stuff we shouldn't as well. And the idea of Teams is that we, as you can see on the slide, we have all these different work streams coming down the outside. And I will say that would be lots and lots of email conversations that you have coming in. And a lot of the research that's been done shows that actually when you get disturbed from a task that you're working on, even though we might jump back onto it, it takes us on average around about 15 minutes to really re-engage with what we were doing. And so every time something pops up in our inbox and we get that new email notification, we get distracted. We're trying to mean that we don't have to jump into another application to get that information, to reply to the email. Maybe send another 5 emails to our team to find out, have they got the information I need to respond to the initial email? And then I get 25 responses back, and so on and so forth. And so it's not a particularly efficient way in the new world that we live in, when we're members of multiple teams, multiple projects, and we cross all of those. And hopefully the slide shows is that we then have to start jumping between these apps. And what we're trying to do and show you with Teams is that we can do a lot of that work in one place, in this one hub, where we can pull all different types of information. And the, oops, just get back on the right screen before I go, hopefully. There we go. And what the research by Forrester showed about a year ago, April 2019, and if anyone wants this report, it's available. I can send it to them. It's quite a nice document around what you can do with Teams and the benefits. But it saves various employees, depending on what your role is, between 1 to 8 hours a week by having all your solutions in one place. And it gives you some reasons. I'm not going to read them all there, but that idea that we're going to collaborate, we can share information, and we can have more efficient meetings. The one I really like is that actually we don't have as much time in meetings because of Teams. And that's the last point that we mentioned there. And I'll give you an example, a scenario of that, of what we did over the last few weeks with the marketing team when we were putting this event together. And what we found meant that we didn't have to drag 10 people into a meeting that lasted an hour. We brought people in for 5 minutes, got the information we needed. And so the three of us were in there for probably half an hour to an hour. But the rest of the people were just coming in and out of that meeting remotely via Teams, and so they could get on with their normal life and normal work life. So I can absolutely see how this will improve it. I've also found meetings on Teams have been a lot quicker with the teams that we're doing now. Every day I have a catch up with my marketing team, we catch up with the sales team, a management team, and people are far more in and out. Let's get the information shared on Teams before the meeting. We can review it, any points, and then we can get on with our life. So I think what the stats on the screen is showing are correct, and hopefully we'll give you some examples of that. So what we're trying to do is Teams will save you time, make you more efficient, and go on from there. And the vision of the Teams platform, and just think it's important to understand what Teams has been designed for, then you can work out how best to use it for yourself and for your company, is it provides this single hub to reduce this switching of apps. And you've got all the information, hopefully, or as much information as you can in one place to make that decision quicker. And if we can then bring our customers and our suppliers into some of those conversations, hopefully that will improve the decision-making time for maybe, sales that we're trying to close, or sorting the supply chain out with our suppliers, or any interaction you have with outside and third parties in your business, to improve the transparency, the data we've got to make the right decision quicker and get it correct first time. We're not going to deal with the automation of workflows today because of time, but Teams does that. And if you sat in my last session, we did a little bit of that. And again, we're not going to integrate with third parties today, but that gives you an idea that it's a hub to pull all these things in. But we're going to focus today on the idea of a single hub and how we can work with that. Okay, so that's me done with PowerPoint. So let's dive in. I'm just going to stop this screen share and share another one for you. So what I will do is, I'll show you one thing. Zach, is my video on the screen at the moment, my face?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I know you're all now experts with Teams. What you can do, I showed everyone this before, if you've had a new feature that's come in the last week, I think it came in last Wednesday or Thursday, so a week ago. When you used to be able to blur your background if you're on a video call like I am now, you could click on the three little dots for more options and you had blur background. That's now changed to difference. You can still blur your background, like so. So if you're working from home and you've got the ironing behind you, you can blur it out. But also what we've now got now is Teams have given us a whole bunch of wallpapers or backgrounds to have, so I can apply a background so it can look like I've got a fancy Skyline studio that I'm working in. So that's appeared for you in the last week. And although it's not available just yet, you can have your own custom background. So if I want to be back in my office in Wolverhampton, there you go. I've now got my own custom background. I can be back in the church at Waterloo Road, at Wolverhampton. That's not available to you guys just yet, but I can give you a little hack if anybody wants to have their own personalized images in their Teams one as well. But that will be coming. You can have your own custom backgrounds. But that's one of the little things that's appeared. Everything is changing very quickly on Teams. They're saying by the end of this month, we'll be able to go to 9 video screens on the screen at one time. Currently we have 4. They're going to increase that to 9 round about the end of April, early May. So hopefully you'll see that rolling out, and we'll talk about a couple of other features that should be with us in the next few weeks as well as we go through the demo. Okay, let me just drop and leave it on blur, and away I'll go. Okay, so I'm now going to share with you my Teams screen. So hopefully, Zach, you should be able to see that now. Can you just confirm that's the case?
Yeah,
you should.
Okay,
You should see Teams.
chat. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you into how Teams look. So I guess most of you will have seen this. So what we have on our screen now is the general overview. I'm not going to go through everything. I've done this many times before. And if somebody wants some more information, drop me an email and I'll send you some links or talk you through it. But what we have, as well as our calls, where you've probably been making video and audio calls, is our Teams area. Teams then breaks down on the next column. We can set that up as either departments, projects we're working on, all the different areas where we interact with other people, typically within our business. And we've tried to move all our internal comms within our teams out of Outlook and into Teams. And then the stuff that comes into Outlook is typically from people from outside my organization. And I want to respond to those guys quickly. So I lose a lot of the clutter and I lose a lot of the noise that I get, and hopefully we can then concentrate on the things that are important, not get distracted, as my mobile phone rings and distracts me from what I'm doing. So I've just muted that. So what we have is I have a sales team, I have a marketing team, and so on and so forth. I have some hidden teams. Teams is what Teams does is it looks at the teams I'm not particularly active in, and it just hides them away from me. Again, trying to focus me on the areas that are active and busy. But if I clicked on that, I could see teams I'm a member of, but I'm not having much interaction or there's not much activity in those. So it just puts them away from me. And the team I want to go into today is in our marketing team. And once you go into your teams, you can have what are called channels, and these are different areas within the team. So we've got a general communications that go the stuff that's just going on generally in our team. We have some customer communications that we send out every week, and so Zach would put maybe some subject matter and then the email for me to approve and get feedback from other members of the company around that. LinkedIn stuff we do, and all the usual you would expect within marketing. Now, what I want to show you today is something that we've done around this event, Sofa Summit today. I thought I'd just run through a very small scenario. And if I click on the hidden channels, there it is, Sofa Summit, I've already got it showing. And what I have in there is a conversation type of thread. So rather than lots of emails, we have this different way of collaborating, which is via chat. And so you can see that I started a conversation back on the 6th of April saying, I'd spoken to them generally during the morning meeting, but we wanted to run this event for people that we all find ourselves in this unique situation now. How can we make the best of it? How can we be more efficient and make more out of it? So we came with this idea of running a virtual session of information for all the things we cover at TechMan. And so we put that in. And what happens with this is rather than sending an email, I've no idea sometimes if anyone's read that email. Some people will respond, and then I got loads of greats and all that type of stuff and clogs my inbox up. With this, we can quite easily see when people are interacting with us. So one of the first things we did was we needed to come up with a date, which you'll notice has now changed, but I'll explain that in a moment, and some collateral, a little logo. And Mo came up with that, and Mo works in our marketing team, does a lot of our artwork and our design. And came up with something, and very quickly you can see that I've interacted that. Mo can see that I've liked it, and if anybody else in the team, we can just overhang a post and we can maybe have a surprised view. I can have an angry face, I'm not happy with the message, I can love something, all those type of things that we get in our normal social media world that we live in, and we can interact with that. But Mo can see quickly that I've liked it, so that's good. We can also see there's 3 more replies. So the first thing that happened is I realized this the day after Mo had done this, or on the 7th after we'd done it, that actually we couldn't do the 21st because we already had an event running, and I've name checked somebody, Zach, who's also in our team, saying Zach had already arranged an event. And again, I can see Zach gave me a surprise look because obviously I was having a bit of fun and blaming him that we've had to move the event. And Mo then has updated the artwork. And when we talk about this being a hub, if I want to look at this artwork in more detail, I just click on it. I now get a full screen or an enlarged image of what that image is, so I can look at it. I could maybe request some changes. If I wasn't happy, I can just reply to this mail just by clicking on the reply or this thread, and I can put, "Hi Mo, could we change?" Okay, if that's what we want. And away we go, and it's put on there, and then Mo and the rest of the team will see that the conversation has continued, and I can see straight away that I get a like, and I can just overhang that. I can see Mo has liked that. So very quickly, I can see there's some response to my my message. Mo's responding, he's going to get on it, and that's great. So I can forget about that. I know Mo's going to go and do it and get on with what else I've got to do. So it's a very quick and interactive way of working. It's a bit like WhatsApp. We also get the ability, you see, to notice people's statuses. So I can see that Zach's currently in a meeting because they're on this call. But if not, I could just jump in and start interacting with those guys with a chat, a private chat. If I wanted to take something I didn't want the group to see, so maybe something, if it was some feedback and I felt it was a bit negative and I don't want to share it with the team, I could have that as a one-to-one chat with the guys and just and start that from here just by overhanging it. Or I could see people are available. And you'll notice because I'm sharing my screen, it's set me to do not disturb. And I'll touch on that near the end of the session and how we can change our settings. But very, very quickly, we can see this chat-based communication. It's a bit like WhatsApp compared to your inbox. So it's very quick, lots of different conversations going on at any one time, but you're very focused on that thing. So think of it a bit like WhatsApp for the company. And then if I just scroll back up, the thing we also did was we set some tasks. I think the world we've suddenly found ourselves in, we have to be very agile and very quick to change and adapt. And Teams, I find, is one of the best tools for doing that. And so we spun this up on the 6th of April. On the same time, I set up a bunch of tasks for people to do. So this is Planner. It's part and parcel of Office 365. It's a free product. And it just, as you can see, it will work directly within Teams. I'm still in Teams, and I've now got my plan. We put some pre-event tasks generally that had to be done, some pre-event tasks for marketing, and some stuff to do, which you can see has not been completed yet because that's after the event. So we'll send you obviously an email thanking you for attending, get some feedback, send you a link to the recordings. So I have a list of stuff we need to do that we mustn't forget about. And I can just click into those and I can see what's been done because there's a line through it. So we had to come up with that logo design. Mo did that very quickly. We did a deck. We'll talk about that in a moment. We had a landing page on the website. A mailer went out and we took a bookings page. So all these things we set as challenges we had to get done, and we had to get them done in 4 days. Okay, so that due date was by the 10th of April. And the guys did that. Okay, we got one which I've not completed because I wanted to show you what that looks like in here. But we have all these tasks that are still need doing. And again, we have some on the final column, which was ideas around some of the sessions we were running, so we could take feedback and some conversation around that. I can then put that into a different view, so I can see very quickly within Teams that I've got 10 tasks left. Most of those are the stuff to do from tomorrow for the post event. But I could see if I put times on things, we've got a couple that are overdue, and who's done what by looking at the members of this team and who had various tasks allocated to them. So Planner is quite a simple project management. Is probably too fancy a word, but it's more impressive than just a to-do list. But it gives us a level of control and to make sure very quickly I can see what we're up to and what we're doing. And you get a calendar view so we can see when those tasks should have been done. And as we said, they had to be done by the 10th of April, and we can see that they're still red. So there's a couple of those tasks that weren't completed. But Planner is a really simple way. You don't need any real training on this. You can have a play with it and set up these buckets of information on the boards, the different tasks, set them up. And that will interact with your inbox if you want. You'll get alerts if you're going late. So if you haven't completed something, it can appear in your to-do list in Outlook as well. So while you're making the transition from Outlook to Teams, the two overlap and work quite nicely. But you can see we haven't left our chat. We have still got all the posts. If I want to drop back to the conversation, I can do. But now we have things for people to do, and they can just tick them off when they're completed, and the whole team can see where we are with our planning. So I don't have to keep badgering people and then saying, where are we? So I go back to my conversation. So we set these tasks up. I've already showed you Mo came up with the logo. We then came up with some communications. I can see that Zach then started putting the ideas around about the sessions that we were working on. Again, we could have feedback from there. And you'll notice that my name is mentioned there. And for me, when I come in, if I go into that thread and want to catch up quickly, every time I see the little @ sign at the side, it means I have been named in that conversation. So that's probably more important for me to read. So again, this idea of trying to prioritize what we should be doing, we jump in and we can see that I've been mentioned, and I might want to have a look at that very quickly, and it brings my attention right to it. And the conversation continues. We've got the landing page. Zach also has sent me the general information that was the email that was going to go out as an invite. Again, I can click on that. I can see it all there. I'm still in Teams. I'm going to keep going on and on about this because this is the idea. I'm not jumping around. So I can see the email that Zach has composed to send out. I can then see on the right-hand side, the conversation continues. So while I'm reading the mail, I could reply and say, "Hi, Zach. I like it, but," which is my typical, we change the opening paragraph or the opening sentence. My spelling, obviously can't spell change because I've spelled it incorrectly twice already, but never mind. So you can see that I don't leave what I'm looking at, and I can still put my comments down the side on the conversation. So I'm always involved with this thread of information and just staying really to the task that we've set ourselves, which is get this done and get it done quickly. So once I've reviewed that, I could maybe approve it or give some feedback as I have on there, and away we go, and that goes to the bottom of the thread. The other thing we did, and I want to show you this because this is important, is one of the tasks we said was to come up with a PowerPoint template. So all the people that were presenting, as the deck I used this morning, was on there. So again, I've clicked on that link and you'll see that Teams now fires up inside it a PowerPoint. And very quickly and very easily, we can see that I'm in the deck. I've still got the conversation down the side. So if I want to keep responding to things. But what also happens is, and this is the idea of collaboration, while we're all remote in different areas, you'll suddenly notice on the left-hand side of the screen, I can see some initials, and overhanging there, I can see that Zach's in this deck as well. So Zach's on slide 1. I can see on slide 5 that Mo is working on that as well. And so if Zach wanted to make a change on I don't know, he's gone to 2, I can actually see I'm on that screen as well, and I can see that he's updating the slide from I'm Liam to I'm Zach. Things should be changing on the screen. And again, we could be working on this together. I could put something new on here. I can start working on it exactly the same time. And together we can work on a slide. We could have a call going as I'm doing with you all now. So we could be talking about this and we can jump through the slide, all making changes on at the same time. I've asked Mo if he could add some extra slides into the deck around this, and you can see he's put a comment. Liam, I've added the comms slide you wanted. So I wanted some information around Business Central coming into the slide, so he's added that new slide for me. If I'm not happy with that, I can move things around. I'll annoy Mo now because he's a typical genius when it comes to design, but if I move it and it's not quite right, OCD will be going mad. But you can see Mo's in there as well. We're both on the same slide. Mo's moving the little image and the second down, and I'm moving the top one at the same time. So everybody can work on this in real time, even though Mo's based in Birmingham, I'm based over here in Wolverhampton. We can still all work on this, and Zach's over in Wolverhampton as well. And we're all working on the same side. We could do this with Excel, with PowerPoint, with Word, any of the Office apps. We can do this, and we can do it all within Teams. So the idea of collaboration, especially the way we find ourselves now, I think is really, really important to show you how easy it is to do that. And the great thing with this is because this slide deck has been uploaded to Teams, it's in the cloud. We're all working on that one version. So I haven't emailed it to 5 different people and then no idea that someone else has deleted 2 of the slides I want and all the usual stuff we get when we try and share files around. We're working on one version. It's saving for us automatically in real time. We can have version history. So if we wanted to roll back to before we started, we can, but it's all being saved for us as we work on it. So really, really powerful stuff. And I love doing this. If you don't like the web app, you can still open it up here in the desktop app and you can still keep working on it. So if you find there's a couple of features that might not be available in the web app, that's fine. You can still work. You can still collaborate together while it's open in the desktop app if you would prefer that. But you are then jumping out of Teams. So I find actually these days there's not much I can't do in the web app. So it's fine. I can see the people that are there. I can see exactly what they're doing. If you are a manager in this situation and you are finding actually what are people doing, and I don't think many people micromanage these days, but you can see here, we can set tasks, we can jump in, we can see the guys are on the slide, we can see the work that's taking place in real time if we feel that's required. So I think, again, from a managing a team point of view, Teams is helping massively for that. So I'm just going to drop out of that. Hopefully that's given you a very quick look at how you can collaborate on PowerPoint. PowerPoint is very visual, so we use that, but of course it'll do it on Word, Excel, anything you want, you can share and collaborate in real time all together. And I think that's really useful in the world and the environment we find ourselves right now. Thanks, Mo. Thanks, Zach, for diving in on there and helping out. So I'm just going to close that back, close PowerPoint down. And we can see that we're back in our conversation. One thing I will show you, I have done this before if you sat in some of my demos, but if we are working or your industry works internationally, or you have people that don't speak English as their primary language, I'm just going to post something into Teams. So if I had a colleague maybe that posted something in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish, but if I put a Spanish comment in there, hopefully you can still see my screen. Yes, you can. So at the bottom of there, you'll notice the latest thing that's gone in at 9:55 is that this comment from, I'll pretend it's one of my colleagues in Spain, and I've no idea what that means. So all I have to do though is overhang the comment, click on the three little menus, and I've got the ability to translate. If I select that, bang, it puts into my native language. So can we offer a Surfer Summit to our European customers was the question. Okay, now it makes more sense because I don't speak Spanish. So I could reply in English, and then whoever the native speaker is, when they're on their version, when they translate, it will translate back into Spanish. So I can reply in there and it will translate it back. So again, very, very powerful if you are working with international customers and with international or colleagues. You can put things in different languages, and that's bright enough to work through translations of the majority of major languages we're working on. So that knew it was Spanish and went straight to English, and from English it would go back to Spanish. So it's really, really clever, but it would do it in German, Italian, you name it. It's on there and works well. Okay, so that was a little thing I wanted to show. Right, where am I on my list? Okay, so the one thing I wanted to talk about and show you is, because we're working with customers now and suppliers and we can't get together, we can't meet, would it be useful to bring those people into our Teams conversation? So people that aren't within our organization. So I'm going to show you, hopefully this will all work well, and the demo gods are on my side, but we'll show you how easy it is to add somebody to from an external organization. So let me go back and show you how to do that. Okay, so the first thing to mention, you have to be the team owner to be able to have the ability to do this. Okay, so when you create a team, you would be the owner. You can make people the owner as well, so you can have multiple owners. That's normally in the manage team section. So if I go in here, I can see that there are 3 owners of the marketing team. I'd always suggest you have more than one, because if that person is off ill, you can't add new members, or if you can't do as much control. So always add more than one owner to a team. And then you can see here we've got members and guests. So it tells us that they're all members. Normally that is people within our organization, and a guest is someone who's coming from outside. But you have to be a team owner to be able to do what I'm about to show you. There are 2 ways to have people come into your Teams instance from an outside organization. There's something called federation, and that really means that you will federate with their domain. So as is techman.co.uk, so you can federate with that, and it will give a lot of access to both parties to communicate almost across the piece. Okay, it's okay. I would probably advise away from that, because it's a little bit, I think, dangerous on how much freedom we could give. So I prefer to invite people for guests. And if you're starting out with that, I think guests, you have a lot more control over what those people can and can't do. So I'm going to add a guest today. So I'm going to add a new member to my team. So adding a member to marketing. And the first thing to mention here is, when you add a guest to a team, they are going to see everything within that team. Okay, so you need to think about how you structure your team. We can have private channels within our team, but you have to set those up. So you need to think, if I want stuff that's private from the third party, maybe pricing or other things, create your team, think about how it's going to be structured, create your private channels rather than being public channels, and then add a guest. They will not see access to the private channels if you haven't given them access to it. Okay. If you want more information about that, probably haven't got time to go through it today, contact me and I'll talk about the structure. But let's add somebody. So I'm going to add just an email address. I created an Outlook account last night, so I'm going to send this. It's just going to an outlook.com email address. I'm going to add it, and that email will be sent. I am going to show you what that person will see. So hopefully now you can see an Outlook screen. So I've just fired up an Outlook account last night, and we can say in the inbox, I have this new message that says you have been added to the marketing team at 9:59 this morning. So that's come through, and that's what your supplier, your customer will see in their inbox. So you'll be said who's done that. So Liam has done it, so that if they're aware of your plans to do it, it won't come as a complete surprise, and gives them a bit of information about what Teams is all about, and you can download the app and etc. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually click now open Microsoft Teams, and so I'm going to show you what it's like for the end user to get this. Now, because I've already got Teams loaded on my desktop, it's trying to open up the app. I'm not going to do that in this instance because I'm using the Teams app logged on as Liam Walton, and I'm having a call with you. So I'm going to say, actually, cancel that. I'm going to use the browser to do that. So I'm going to use the web app instead. No, let me just. There we go, hopefully. Now it's going to send me a code because we have two-factor authentication on our setup here. So it's just come through to my phone. There we go, 55890. And that will verify that person, we've done it properly, and they've now got an account to log on to Teams. So you'll see now that as we come into this is what the new user will see. They can't see all those other teams that I see in my my instance of Teams. They can only see this one, which is the marketing team. So we were talking about that. There's the Sofa Summit that we were looking at. Let's move something out of the way. And I can still turn notifications on. So even though I'm using the browser, that's absolutely fine. But you'll see everything that we've been talking about is now available to someone who's got an Outlook account or whatever email address that would be. So someone who's a third party to us is now involved in that team. And that's what I'm saying, when you introduce them, they will see access to everything within the team. So you need to be aware and structure your team correctly, or make sure what you are sharing with them you're comfortable with. It might be better to spin up a brand new team and then bring those people in than add them to an existing one. But they can do everything you can do. They can chat with people within that. They can get involved in the conversations. They can still have a look at that PowerPoint we talked about. So away it will go, and they can start working on the deck that we've been going on. So again, if we wanted to share information on those lines, they can do that. And so very quickly and very easily, they can begin to start becoming part and parcel of our team. They can have a chat with us, as we said, and share a few bits and pieces. So they become a member of that, and they can just start working with you. So it should be as easy as that to do it. If you're having any problems, let me know. But I thought I'd show you the end user experience. You can see that person at the top now is logged in as, just put their initial as G. But they can do everything that you'd expect. Now I'm going to stop sharing the end user experience, and I'll go back to my Teams that I was running. So let me just share again, Microsoft Teams. So what you can do is you do have a little bit of control over certain things that person can do. You can set, for example, if again I go into manage the team, and I can now see in members and guests that person is available and they're only a guest. We can set in the general settings that a guest could not start a new conversation thread. So maybe we don't want them to start spinning up conversations all over the place. We just want them to reply to stuff that we've already created. So that's one of the things you can lock down and make sure that person cannot do. Once you go into marketing as well, it will tell you that if you go to the team, let me go back. It will tell you that just to warn you as a user that, yes, this is a team, you have one guest. So in the top right hand corner, you have one guest. So if you're about to post something that might be a little bit sensitive, or it's just a reminder, be careful what you're posting here. We have a guest from outside the organization that is a member. Don't be stupid. Okay, so there's a little warning to you that there is a guest. So it does make that available and makes you aware of it. Okay, so but that's how easy you can bring a guest in. And as I said, we can interact with them as much as you want. So hopefully you can bring your suppliers, bring your customers, and start to work with them. You can remove a guest at any time. And as soon as you remove that guest, you go back in to manage the team. where all that list of names was bang, remove, they will lose access immediately. They won't be able to have any historical records of it. So if you've not allowed them to do or download anything or anything like that, they'll just remove access at the drop of a hat. So if there's a reason to take that person out or their involvement in the project is finished, you can boot them from the team very quickly and very easily, as long as you are a team owner. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of how easy it is to bring someone into a team. If there's any problems, speak to me afterwards. And I said the main thing with that is structuring your team right, and so you've still got those areas that are private to your company that you may not want to share with a customer or a supplier. So be aware of that. But now you could have meetings with those people, chats with those people, and they become as though they're part of your organization. Okay, so those are a few of the things I wanted to show you about from that side. I thought I'd just finish with showing you a few tricks and tips around what we're going to do. I won't go back to the PowerPoint deck because it just wastes time, but the 5 things I just wanted to show you were the idea around bookmarking. And I don't know if you've ever done this before. One of the things I do a lot when I'm on my social media, so if I'm using Twitter and I see something I like, I'll just bookmark it so I can come back to it at a time I've got the time to read it if it's not really important. And I think that's exactly the same with my work life. There are things I see on Teams where I think I need to do that. I mustn't forget to do it, but I don't need to do it now. And then I'll forget. So when Zach, for example, maybe sends me a one of these mailers that are going out to the invitation. So he sent me down here saying, this is the latest version of the email. So he wants me to approve that. So I need to do it. But you know what? Now I'm in the middle of a presentation. It's not the time. But I don't want to forget. So I click on the little three buttons that give me more options. And I've got save this message. So I'm going to save that message. And then at the end of the day, or whenever I've got time, I can then think, right, I know there's a bunch of stuff I was meant to do that I saved. All you do is go back up to your the image of your profile at the top, drop that down, and you will have on here an option that says, what have I saved? And as soon as I go there, it will take me down the left-hand side. It tells me what I've saved to look at a later date. And there's the last one. Hi, Liam. Here's the latest version of the Sofa Summit. That's what I was meant to do. I had to approve what Zach had sent. So I can click on there. It takes me straight there. So here I am back on there, and I can put, okay, I've responded to it, but I could put whatever I felt, or yeah, that's absolutely fine. Let's get it out to our customers. So actually bookmarking and saving stuff is quite a neat little way of, when you're going through your day, to remind yourself to do it, create your own little to-do list in Teams of anything that you need to get back to. So I find that really, really useful to just click throughout the day, and then a couple of times during the day, I'm going to go back and review those. That's something very quick and easy to show you. While we're in the status or my account, we have the ability, you'll notice, to have a status message. One of the things we found quite useful with this is many companies now have got people that might have to be self-isolating because they're unwell. You might have people that are furloughed, and you don't know now. We're a bit more disconnected who's what or what's their status. If you put something in the status here, you can put, hi everyone, I'm currently presenting. That's what I'm doing right now. But I could put, I've unfortunately developed symptoms, so I'm self-isolating. I might be furloughed, so I'm saying I'm not going to be available for a couple of weeks. And I put a status update in there within Teams. And then when I click on here, show when people message me, whenever they start to chat or involve me in something, if they name checked me in one of the conversations, it would pop up a little line underneath with that status saying, oh, okay, they're furloughed. There's no point me asking them for information because they're obviously not working at this moment in time. So it's a quick way of keeping people up to date with what you're doing within Teams. And you can see that you can clear the status message after a period of time. So if I was presenting like now, someone who might want to get hold of me might be getting frustrated that I'm not responding. Then having a status update, they would fully understand what was going on. And again, you can set custom how long these things last, hour, 1 day, whatever it is. And that's quite a neat way now of alerting people to your status. And it's this idea we started with around not getting distracted. And we don't want people badgering us all day if we're trying to get on with something else. So let's let them know what we're doing, because I think in the chat-based world, people do expect a response. If they can see that you're green or something along those on your status. So that's one area, status messages and updates that are quite becoming quite useful. And the other thing you can do around here is this status. So you've got some pre-built-in statuses. So you can see currently I'm presenting. Always goes to presenting when you share your screen. But if I'm available, busy, do not disturb, be right back. I am using do not disturb far more than I did previously because Teams has become our default way of communicating in the business, especially now we're all working from home. And so if I am trying to get something done, whether that's some preparation, a quote, whatever it might be that's important, I put myself to do not disturb. I am then not going to get those little pop-ups at the bottom of the screen saying, you know, Zach's mentioned me, Mo's responded to one of your comments, because human nature says, I want to read what they've put. And then, as we've said, we get distracted. We have this nice feature in Teams to just allow us to not be disturbed while we get something completed. So definitely use that. However, you might be saying, well, that's great, but if my boss is trying to get hold of me, I want to be able to be aware of that, which is fine. Or it might be a customer or something like that that you brought into your team that you want to respond to quickly. So if you go to your settings, you have the ability here to change your notifications. While I'm in settings, if you prefer the dark mode, which everyone seems to like dark modes and everything now, you get that here in Teams and you all go dark. Hopefully you can see that on the screen, but I'll stick back to the default. But notifications and privacy are pretty important. So if you go to privacy first, so if I'm on do not disturb, at the moment, no one is going to be able to disturb me. I might want to amend that and have a bit of flexibility. So I can have priority access. So if I wanted someone to be able to get through to me, so maybe I'm waiting for an important call and I want to make sure that Zach can get hold of me during this time, I can have a priority access. And I can put, okay, if Zach tries to get hold of me, he can break that do not disturb. I might have my boss on there. So if James, who runs the company, wants to get hold of me, again, I don't want to ignore that and I want to be alerted to it. If you've brought a guest in and that is someone you're working with on a big deal or there's a timescale, you might want to add that person. So if you are on do not disturb, you're getting the alerts that you need. So priority access is quite neat to be aware that you can block the majority of noise, but if there's someone you want to be able to get hold of you, then that's good. Okay, if let's just drop back out of that. Oops, go back into settings, sorry. And the other thing you can do is you can have a blocked contacts list. If you are fed up with somebody constantly badgering you, you can actually block people. If you use Teams for your phone system like we do, and that is becoming so easy to do now, if you're looking at that, you can add, Microsoft have added something called Business Voice, which is a phone system which you can get for about, I think, 15 pounds per user per month. But you could block calls with no caller ID if you don't want that coming through. But also you can start adding people that you've blocked them, so they couldn't one-to-one chat you or mention you in anything along those lines. So again, there's a way of blocking people that are maybe a bit noisy, or you just don't want them pestering you all the time. Okay. One of the other things that we can have, again, to try and keep our noise levels down is notifications. That was also in our settings. Notifications are all the little pop-ups we get. So if we weren't on do not disturb, if someone said puts your name or mentions you, then you get potentially you can have an email, or you can just have the banner at the bottom of the screen saying someone's contacted you or someone's tried to mention you. You can change all of that in your notification. So if you're still using your inbox and you're saying Crumbs Teams is creating as much email as them emailing me directly, well, you can change that. So you can select whether you just want a banner, only show it in the feed, or I want a banner and an email. And that's available for everything from mentions, messages, other bits and pieces, anything that you want, you can change that down. And you can manage the notifications as well when they appear. So again, if you don't want them in certain statuses, you can say who and what can impact that. So that's a couple of areas that I've used far more since we've been working than when I was surrounded by my team who would just, say, hey, Liam, over the desk, and we'd have a conversation. Now that's all taking place on Teams. There's a lot more notifications and pop-ups, so I'm trying to stop that happening. Final two or three things I wanted to show you is you can see how bad I am at spelling because you've been watching me type today. If I reply to something here and let's do my classic, which I think I was spelling change this, please. Okay, so I've typed something and I've hit it and bang, off it's gone. I suddenly realized I made a typo. Now I can go in, I can click on the three dots and I can edit it, right? That's 2 clicks. And then I've got to go in and amend it. What you can do is if on your, if on your keyboard, you've got your little cursor keys, if you just hit the up key twice, it takes me straight in, and I can then embed it straight away. So that's a little feature I only learned this week. That was made. I spotted that someone had tweeted about that change. I wasn't aware of it, but I do find at times Teams can be a bit clunky when it comes to editing stuff because it's almost real-time chat. I love the fact that you can do that. Okay.
Take a breath in.
Is that a question? Sorry, or okay, I'll carry on. So that's a very quick tip that you can fix your your typos. 2 clicks on your up arrow on your cursors, and I can then change any typo. And the final thing I want to show you, which I find really useful at the moment, if you are using Teams and you have a chat going and you're talking to people or having a call, some chats, I have to then jump out of my team, and it's painful. Sometimes I want to have multiple chats going at one time. Now, Microsoft is saying, again, in the next few weeks, we'll be able to pop out a chat. So you can have a chat with colleague A, pop that into a separate window, and have another chat with colleague B, and have that in a separate window, rather than jumping between the chats. If you can't do that, I'm just going to share my my browser again. You have a way, which I think is really neat, of doing it. Let me just stop sharing. I'm going to show you something. Let me share my browser again. So I've got my Teams app, which I've been working in all morning. I'm just quickly going back to my browser, if I can find that. Hopefully that's it. Okay, so you should be able to see my browser. And I've just got my Office 365 homepage, office.com, and I've logged in as myself. And what I can then do, you'll notice you've got Teams here, and this opens it in the browser. And if you're using the Microsoft Edge browser, I think you can do this on Chrome as well. So it's taken me in, so I'm seeing Teams in the browser as though it was the desktop app. It's almost identical. But if I go to my browser and then say on Settings, Apps, install this site as an app, okay, it's going to install it. Yep, say okay. And what will happen then is I get this little, which you can't see because I'm not sharing my screen properly. I'm just going to stop it and go again. I'll just share the entire screen. It'll probably be easier for me. Desktop screen 1. Okay, so I'm just making sure that pops up. Here it goes. Okay, so what you'll notice now, out of the browser, it's created this little app for me, which I'm just moving around, which is a browser, but it's Teams. So although it's not the actual desktop app, I've now created it. It will be in my start menu. I can pin it to my toolbar at the bottom. You can see down here, there's my normal Teams app, but I've also now got this web-based app, and I could then have my chat going with whoever I wanted to. So I can see the Sofa Summit thing that I'm talking to you guys on currently. And I could then have that on one screen. Let me just snap it there. And I could then have my normal Teams session on the other side. If I drag it down from my second screen, it's got a couple of monitors here. And there I go. So I could have 2 instances of Teams running. I could have as many instances of Teams running as I want. And they could all be different chats while I'm still in the Teams over here that I'm working on. So I know I've squeezed them together on one screen, but if you're finding multiple chats, you can use the browser and you can have that to work almost like a second client, which I find really useful. If you are doing what we've done today, where you might be demoing like I'm doing, so I'm showing my screens, what I could have is the chat here, so I could see any questions that are coming up on my other client. So it's sometimes difficult to do that, but if you were putting comments in, you can see them popping up on the screen, or I could admit people to the session, all of those things while I've still got my other Teams app running in the background. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. And as I said, it runs as an app. You can see down at the bottom, I've now got 2 instances. If I click on there, it will always go back to that team, which I have now saved as a little app. So that's quite neat. You have to be on the right browser for you to do that, but if you're using the free Microsoft Edge Chromium one, it will work, and I think Chrome does as well. Okay, final thing to talk about before I go is we mentioned how we save times in meetings, and I forgot to cover this. When we were doing the Sofa Summit setup, so myself, Zach, and Mo were on a call, and what we did was we were just kept adding people in. So if you're on a call, you can just add people very quickly, add the plus sign and add them in. And we brought each presenter in. We ran through what we were doing in terms of the deck, the agenda. Did they have any feedback? Is there something they didn't want to cover that we'd got on the agenda? They came in, they went off and carried on with their job. We brought the next presenter in. They did the same. And we brought, I think, 5 or 6 people in that were presenting. there and then, and off they went, and we got that meeting done without having to use their time as inefficiently as having them all sat there while they had to listen to everybody else and what they were doing. So think about how you manage your meetings, bring people in, drop them out when they're not required. And the final thing I said I'd show you, and I haven't, was tags. And with tags, this is another way of making people being aware that they have been named in something. So again, if you go back to your team, this is done on a team level. So I'm going back to marketing, and I'm going to my manage tags, which is down here. So I'll just select that. Now what I've done is I've created a tag this morning. So it's quite easy to create a tag. You just click on the button, give it a name, and I called one this morning called presenters. So anyone who's in the marketing team that is presenting today, which is about, I said, 5 or 6 people, I now have given those guys a tag. Let me just show you what I did. So I created a tag called presenters, and in there I added 3 people that were presenting. And I could add, if say Zach was presenting as well this morning, let me add him. So so he's another person that's been added to the group. So I've created this tag called presenters. Now anywhere in this team, in the marketing team, if I'm writing a new conversation, let's just move this out of the way so it's not blocking what you can see. So I'm going to say, hi everyone, just remember to record your sessions. You can see how bad my spelling is. And rather than just putting that, and then the presenters might miss it or everyone else might read it, what I'm going to do is, rather than putting everyone, I'm now going to put the @ sign, which is like the name check, and I'm now going to put presenters. And there it starts midway through the typing, and it says 4 people have this tag. And as soon as I do that and post that message, anybody that is a presenter will get a new notification that they have been tagged, and they can see very quickly, they'll get it up in their activity saying just a reminder up in here that you've been mentioned to remember to record your sessions. Now it's not going to bother anyone that's not presenting, but it's still within the team. So you can have lots and lots of tags, various things. You might have a support team that's part of a Microsoft Teams or whatever it is, all those different elements. And again, it's just a way to alert the people when they need that information at the right time and not to distract the others.